Was it uncomfortable for anyone to say no?
No.
Were there times that you said yes without thinking about it or were about to?
I don't think it felt like unsafe at all to say no though either. Like it did.
Right. It's probably a lot easier to do with someone you're not in an intimate relationship with.
You asked me to unload your dishwasher for a second. I was like, well, I guess I could do that. And I was like, no, I don't really want to.
There were times I had to, I want to. Times where I felt like, I should say yes.
Mm-hmm.
I should, like, as a friend, I should be willing to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, will you make me a birthday cake? The easy thing would be to say yes, but I'm not a baker. I haven't baked anything for
Did you say that?
decades.
You said
Yeah.
you would buy me one.
I said no, but I'd buy you one.
Did you really want to buy me one? Or were you just saying that because I was asking?
She has that friend thing. She wants everyone to be her friend.
Not everyone. It's definitely not the top of my list to go and buy a cake and make a special trip, but it's something that I would do as a friend. True choice. True choice there. Was it difficult asking for what you wanted?
Definitely.
Anyone else have that experience? At any point, it being difficult to ask for what you want?
I didn't really go with ridiculous. I was just like, hey, will you wash my cup? And hey, can I get a back massage? And hey, can I get some of your chiropractic services for free?
What was that like for you, Brian? I know you said it was uncomfortable being the one asking, but what was it like being on the other end?
Well, I quickly forgot the art of negotiation.
He was just yes or no.
But yeses and nos were okay. It was pretty clear. Asking, I actually wasn't even thinking about me. I was just giving her opportunities to say yes or no. Maybe I should have thought of something I really... How about I don't usually want things from people?
You don't usually want things from people. How do you feel about that? That you don't want
That's
things
a
from
problem,
people?
maybe.
Is it just easier to take care of things yourself? Got it. No. Little hologram moment there. We talked about boundaries. We talked about why we want to have boundaries, why we will not speak up and enforce boundaries. Would you like to go through a plan of how to be proactive about your boundaries and how to enforce boundaries? The first thing is to have awareness, right? Awareness that, a boundary's been crossed. That starts with, again, that somatic embodiment. What's going on inside me? What's this about? Oh, there's some sort of boundary, whether that's the physical, mental, emotional, material boundaries that have been crossed. And then we're going back to this defragmenting process. What can be done about this? And what am I willing to do? What am I willing to do about this? So that the resentment, the resistance, and the revenge doesn't creep up within you and within your relationships. And so you want to have open, honest communication about how you feel. And so that's when that nonviolent communication formula comes in. When you did this, I felt, and what I would like for you to do, or what I would like from you, what I'd like instead is this. And that's the request. And you don't always need to do when you did this, I felt this. There can simply be a request. Hey, to go back to that example, I'd like for you to talk in a different tone with me. And then, that consequence. If you don't, I'm gonna end this conversation. I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna hang up. Again, it's on your end, or the overgiver's person in particular, to set those boundaries so that you're not overgiving, rather than pointing that finger like, you did this, you're walking all over me, you're taking advantage of me. That's all you versus I. And so that comes back to own your experience, ownership. I feel, I'm experiencing this. we want to avoid broad generalizations. That's always, that's never. That's also talking in like third person. Sometimes we won't speak from our own personal experience. We'll say, well, everyone feels that way. Everyone has this kind of response. Anyone would feel this way. Using theory or philosophy to make a point rather than speaking from our own experience. And so we can use you in the like plural sense, not the like pointing a finger. Well, when you fart, it stinks. I'm not thinking of a good example right now. But it's like, this is true for everyone, right? This is true for everyone. This is the way it is. And so I'm using that as my argument rather than speaking from my own experience and what I want, what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing. Speaking from I, not using broad generalizations. And then here's the big one, not blaming or shaming, not justifying or defending. The blaming is the you did this, you made me feel that. Shaming would be, and you should feel bad about that. You're an asshole. That's name calling, but that's also a form of shaming. Justify and defend, that's usually on the other side. If I'm expressing, when you did this, I felt that, then I can get into, well, that was because of this. Justifying rather than listening to the other person. I'm defending myself. I'm trying to explain myself. I feel like you're making me a bad guy. And so I'm not really receiving what you're saying.
On the shaming thing, that's a big thing for me. If I say, this thing that you said made me feel really sad, and I was crying, then if there is an implication there that you're being mean to me and that your actions are not good. And so
An implication on your end?
an implication to what they did, that they hurt me. And so there's, even if I try not to shame, there's still a shame component. I feel like it's hard to separate. It's hard to say, I cried when you said that, and to have it not be shameful for the other person. Or believe.
When you said that to me, if you said that to me, that doesn't sound like shaming to me. That would be meaning that I would add to it. And that's meaning you're making. That's the story you're telling yourself. And then what does that do when you tell yourself that story? How does that inhibit you?
Then I feel like a victim. So just don't tell the story about that person and what they did. Like, take responsibility, take ownership.
Take ownership. You can, the way that you said it sounded great to me. And then another thing that you could add in there is you could share that story. I'm hesitant to say this. I'm afraid because this is the story that I'm telling myself. And really, what's in there is a should. I shouldn't. And should is that the realm of blame and shame. If you said when you did that, my feelings were hurt and I cried, you should feel ashamed of yourself. You shouldn't do that. You should do better. You should be more attuned to me. You should be more considerate of me. You should be making me happy, not making me cry. That's blame. That's shame. That's the opposite of responsible. And that's the opposite of responsible is victim. I'm a victim. I'm a victim to you. You shouldn't victimize me. Thanks for sharing.
Hard to step away from those stories.
Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate all your vulnerability.
Because if you can't blame and shame and you can't justify yourself, what should you do?
Well, be authentic. Be authentic. Authenticity can be, just like some of those other things that we talked about, it can be used as a weapon as well. This is what I'm authentically feeling, and you should be honoring that. You should be adjusting yourself for me. You should understand me, which means like I should be right, like we were talking about earlier.
I get confused on the not defending sometimes. It's like, it's hard to explain. You did something that upset someone, but it wasn't in your awareness that it would upset them. And you're trying to just be nice, do something for them, and then they said, why would you do that? But then I would explain, I was just trying to clean that up for you, help you, or something. That's like defending.
Well, if someone asks you, then you can explain. But if I, so can I use you for an example? If Jackie were to say to me, when you, in that exercise, when you said that thing to me, it hurt my feelings and I cried, and I jumped right to explaining myself, justifying and defending myself. Jackie, are you gonna feel heard? Are you gonna feel understood?
You're saying I shouldn't feel that way.
I'm trying to give myself an excuse and make her understand me before I understand her.
You're just saying you should just take enough time for them to finish, like that they've explained themselves before you offer clarification, versus just like cutting them off.
Well, and aren't you saying you want to be with them and you want to make sure that they feel heard before moving on to like your side of the street?
Yeah. And at other times, we just want to take the feedback without feeling like we need to explain ourselves, particularly with people that have experienced trauma. They're in that people pleasing. They tend to over explain themselves, when sometimes we just need to take it as feedback. Say, thank you for letting me know. I'll do better. Now that I know, I'll do better. Rather than, well, the reason that I did that, but I didn't know. This isn't fair. I didn't know that you wanted me to do that. I feel like you're like putting all this on me. No. Like that's justifying, defending, rather than, could you just hear me out? I want to feel like you're hearing me, that you really understand where I'm coming from. What I hear you say is that when I said that thing, or when I used that tone of voice, that's a tender spot for me, for you. And I can get curious about it. Where's that coming from? When I did this thing the other day, did that have the same impact on you? How long has this been an issue for you? How do you feel about me now? It's opening up the door for me to ask questions that I fully understand. If you feel understood, are you going to be more open to hearing me and where I'm coming from? You sure? I'm really glad that you brought this to me so that I can know you better. I feel like I really, really want to explain to you like why I did that. Are you open to hearing my point of view, my perspective?
But if someone brought this to you with anger and like aggression and the way they were bringing it to you,
You get to decide.
Nope.
Yep, you get to decide. I've definitely had times where people brought demon anger energy at me, and I'm like, they need to get this out. This is obviously like something that's really hard for them, and I just kept my own like strength within myself, let them get it out. And to this day, she thanks me for it. She's like, I can't believe you just sat there and took that from me, because I just knew that this was something that had been boiling in her, and she was so convinced of it. There's no calming down, and I could have walked away. I could have said, you know what, I don't deserve this, and I'm not going to stand for it, but I did. I just like stayed calm, and I heard her. And is there anything else? And when she got it all out, her energy changed, and she was so convinced that she was right when she was saying it, and she'd been holding it in for such a long time. And she was like, I have a sixth sense. I know when people are lying. I know when something's happening, and I know that this is true, and I know. And then once she got it out, and I asked for clarity to get more understanding, I was like, are you open to hearing like my perspective? I didn't need to convince her. She just knew. She knew, but she just had to get it out.
when someone is explaining, is that not taking accountability?
Explaining, like justifying?
Justifying.
Not necessarily.
Seems like maybe it's a different intention.
It depends on what point in time during the conversation. I think if you had said, come to her, and you had initially, instead of hearing her, them and making whoever's feelings feel validated or heard or whatever, as long as you're doing that first and then you come at them like how Lorraine did in the second time, I think it's okay. But if it's, hey, I got this thing, and immediately it's all blah 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 and all the shit, then probably not. Am I understood? Did that make sense for you?
And it did actually.
And another sign of there not being accountability, if Jackie's telling me, you know, that I used a tone. Tone is one of those things that's highly subjective. And so what feels like a tone to you might not feel like a tone to me, but it opens up a door for us to talk about it. And I could still fully feel that I was not using a tone. I could be like, and like, I am 100% positive that I was not using a tone. That now, like, I know that you're sensitive to it, and so if you would in the future, if you would like bring it to my attention so that I know like what you mean by that, then
Divorce them.
we agree to disagree. Not everything in a relationship can be resolved. At least half, I'd say at least half of things that come up in relationships, there's a difference of opinion and you don't come together at it. You just have to come to a place of acceptance.
Or what if they say, I know, I'm angry right now. I know I'm using a tone, I'm angry right now.
That sounds like accountability.
I don't get to say, I don't want to hear that you say that in that tone. That triggers me when you use a tone. Can you just speak it in a way that's not angry? Is that?
I feel triggered and unsafe, and I can't hear you. I just want to run right now.
Mm-hmm.
That basic, when you did this, I felt this, and what I would like is this, that request. And again, you don't even need to use when you did this, I felt, you can just say, hey, I'd really like this. And it can open up the conversation for curiosity and for that negotiation. You're responsible for setting the mood and tone. If it's going down a bad path, you want to stop that right away. And sometimes if we don't do or say the right things, like later we can be like, oh, why can't I do that? And it gets to that, we start shaming ourselves. And so you just learn for next time. File it away, let yourself off the hook. You could say what I'd like more of. So it's like, if this happens again, but then also you could say what I would like more of is this. What I would like for you to do is really, really hear me, ask me some questions. And then if you know, someone's repeating an offense, there's gotta be consequences, you gotta follow through. But you can say it firm, kind, calm, and with care. So let's put this into practice. All right. So get with the same partner that you were with before. Think of something that stood out for you. It doesn't have to be something negative. When you said this, it made me uneasy. When you asked me to flash you, like if I'd flash you, like this is what came up in me. And then followed by a request. So it could be when you said yes to giving a massage, I really like that, and I would like more of that. Are you willing to do more of that?
What's she said?
Let's do like 3 minutes, and then we'll switch, and then you can have that negotiation. You can talk about it. You can, if you're on the other end, you can ask more questions so that they feel understood, and then repeat back what you heard them say. So that reflection piece, mirror piece, so that they feel heard. So what I heard you say is that you really like massages and you want me to give you more. Is that right? How many massages a day? How many massages a week? How would that feel if I was giving you more massages? I'm willing to do that. Would you do something for me in return? We know what Michael's thinking. Just have a back and forth conversation. If you run out, if you feel complete, then bring up something else. You got 3 minutes and then we'll switch. All right?
When you said that you
No.
wouldn't
I
care for my dog for a week, but you would for a weekend,
I said I would like
that was
Yeah.
confusing for me. How many days would you?
So that was confusing for you? What was confusing about it?
Because I didn't know how many days
Yeah.
the weekend was.
Oh.
I mean, was that 4 days? Is it 3 days?
Yeah, I can see how that could be confusing. You want clarity.
Yeah,
You want to know where I stand on
Winter
things.
time,
Yeah.
summertime, yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, since I was little.
So to answer your question, I was thinking more come over and visit and
Oh.
play.
Right, okay.
Not an
play date.
not an overnight thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you for clarifying that. Mhm.
How's that feel to hear that?
What I hear is good information that you're not available for an overnight.
Yeah.
Story
So
about
that's good
why.
information for me.
It's good for me.
And you want to know why?
Why? Yes.
Is,
Dogs
Oh no, but you know.
always be on the target.
Oh.
That's what I did.
Okay.
And the last time I watched Dog, even though it was like a clean, nice, hypoallergenic dog, I could just still smell the smell and the slobber, and felt like I needed to entertain it all the time. And I just didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like dogs, but I just don't want them in my house.
Mm-hmm. For that clarification.
So wrap that up, and now switch. When you asked me to make you a birthday cake, I felt kind of torn inside because I want to be a good friend, and I was concerned about letting you down, or if I just know that you
Oh, I
Those
just
are-
were oh well, I'm not
It would be perfect.
good enough or whatever enough for Lorraine to make me
I want to get another dog.
and so it's like I wanted
I think I
part of me wanted to say yes, and I was
misunderstood.
just like
Part of me's like,
Because I feel like
oh, it's my house.
no, like
What do you like?
I'm not a big
Why am I doing that?
Thank you for honoring yourself
Oh, okay.
and for making the right decision for both of us in that moment. You know, maybe I could have a better cake from Whole Foods or from someone else. And
Oh, yeah.
so I appreciate you honoring and even your time.
No, I don't know.
Appreciate you respecting both of us. Yeah, and thank you for sharing also that you wanted to, because that I really appreciate that you wanted to do that for me. So that makes me feel really good, and you don't even need to make the cake. I received that
I wonder if you got it.
willingness.
Yeah, we'll see.
and I'll also say that maybe the only reason why I wanted to is because you asked me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have thought of it. Like I'm not like a picky person, you know.
Yes, we usually make cakes.
That's interesting.
Like with my kids,
Oh,
you know, but
yeah.
like that's not usually the role that I play. You know, like I play other roles. That's not my role.
Okay.
Yeah, but because you asked me,
Like 3 minutes.
That makes me feel very special. Makes me feel very special.
so how was that? Funny? What was funny about it?
How is it funny? Michael and I did funny things the first time, so it just added.
It added to the funniness.
We were being serious about our silly things
Yeah.
that we were doing before.
By discussing that and going deeper, it brought more funniness and more fun,
Yeah.
Perfect.
I don't know how I felt.
more connection.
After doing 3 circles and a headstand.
Made him dizzy, but he likes it.
Anyone have a different experience? What is that about?
Right?
I'm just having brain fog and I'm just having trouble remembering what I even talked about.
Got it.
Yay!
Got it. Was it weird or awkward for anyone?
Finished really fast.
Yeah.
It seemed quick.
Yeah. It was hard to expand. We just went right to the chase, and I'm like, okay. Now what do we do for the next 2?
I thought it was fun to go deeper into reflection, like
Yeah.
not just yes, no, like
back, forth, back and forth.
kind of like the reasons and the feelings behind it, and I thought that was very nice to hear, useful.
That's the relational level of communication there. Deeper communication, deeper connection. All right. So I've got one more fun thing for us to do. I do want to say before we move on to that this piece that we did right here, this like MVC, this happened, I felt this, and then the request, going deeper, this is foreshadowing for next week. Next week, we're going to get into the conflict transformation pieces. Putting that out there, that's next week.
And
So we've been not overtly talking about needs, but we've been talking about needs in this conversation. Boundaries are an extension of needs. And we're responsible for speaking up and asking for what we want. And wants are different from needs. Needs are things that's like, these are non-negotiables. This is what I need in a companion. This is what I need as far as the level of peace in my household. This is what I need from a work environment, the kind of work that I do. I need to feel engaged and fulfilled. These are needs, and then there's wants or desires. And so this next exercise is about tapping in to our wants, our desires, and then asking for those to be fulfilled by other people. This is called nourishment pods. And you're gonna tune in to what would make me feel really nourished right now. And that could be something fun and funny, giggly. You tell me a joke. Can you do something like fun and wacky with me? Can we play like leapfrog? Or would you give me a massage? Would you snuggle with me? Would you sit across from me and eye gaze and be silent with me? Would you just listen to me vent? It could be anything to feel nourished. And you get to ask your pod, your nourishment pod, and they get to honor your request. Or if there's something that they're not comfortable with, then they could say no, have a boundary, or negotiate 4 minutes each to ask for nourishment and then receive what it is that you come up with.
Oh, I was asking if we all three took turns.
No, one at a time,
Nourished.
one at a time, and then we'll switch. This is the opportunity to ask for what you want and to have boundaries and to negotiate.